Hi there. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the basic plumbing tools that I have in my arsenal for accomplishing most plumbing situations of solder or copper around your house. When it comes to soldering fittings and copper tubing and so forth like that for water, my arsenal here works for me. I just figured I'd share it with you. First of all, I'm not a professional plumber by no means. I'm an average guy just doing homeowner-based work. What you see here is not every tool possible. You may need more or less, depending on your situation. Some of the names that I'm going to call these tools may be different than what you know, but again, they're easy to find out what different versions are and what they do. The video today is not really going to go over how to use the tools. It's more about what they do, what I use, and the general purpose as to what they do. All right. So let's get started. When it comes to cutting your copper tubing, you basically have a few options. Okay. The first two here that I'm going to show you are the red mini tubing cutter and this rigid mini tubing cutter. This is your generic mini tubing cutter. It cuts anywhere from 1/8 of an inch to 7/8 of an inch outside diameter. This is a rigid number 118 tubing cutter. That's the model 118. It goes from 1/4 inch to 1 1/8 outside diameter, or 6 millimeter to 28 millimeter outside diameter. The basic principle is there's a couple rollers here on the bottom, and as you adjust this wheel and you stick your pipe in, you spin it, you will cut the tubing. A nice clean cut. Anywhere that you have a confined space where you need to cut in a very small area, these two will work. The rigid, for example, has extra cutting wheels stored on the tool. Many other accessories. The rigid here was about $25 when I bought it. This one was about $6. They both work very well, the rigid being a lot better. But basically they do the same thing. Cut pipe or tubing in a very confined space. A little bit step up from that, if you have this capacity that you have the space to cut, you can jump up to a little bit larger tubing cutter. Okay. This one here is a Lowe's version, Cobalt, and this one here cuts 1/8 of an inch to 1 1/8 outside diameter, or 3 millimeter to 30 millimeter. All right, so 1/8 inch to 1 1/8 to 3 millimeter to 30 millimeter. Again, stamped right here on the body. A knob with a spare little cutter on the base with a wheel. It adjusts. The bottom goes up and down. Has a built-in deburring tool. Nice tool, about $10. This is a rigid number 15. It goes from 3/16 to 1 1/8 inch outside diameter tubing. Very popular among professional plumbers. Again, built-in, deburring tool, built right in. Again, spare cutter is stored on the bottom. This is about $35 when I paid for it. Again, prices will vary. This is a very smooth, well-built, very nice cutter. It does extremely nice cuts, very smooth, very durable. Another version is going to be this one. This is a Pro Point. Again, I bought it through my plumbing supply. The overall length of this version does not change, meaning that from the tip to the handle, it never changes no matter what setting you have the cutter depth set to, whereas this will get longer or shorter depending on how the depth of your tubing. Difference with this and all these other ones, these all have one cutter and 2 guide wheels. This has got four right here in the top. Okay, there's 4 wheels at the top here. There's a cutter on the bottom, very smooth. It has a built-in deburring tool, but a little bit different of this deburring tool versus the rigid, for example. Okay, the rigid is a triangle deburring tool. Okay, if we can kind of see that here. And this one here is a standard deburring tool that spins. And a close-up of that would be something like this. This is the type of normal deburring tool that's been around for like ever. And this one has it that it's actually built right in. So it's pretty cool that at least you now have this type of deburring tool in your arsenal in one tool. So believe it or not, the rigid is the best cutter that I own. Right? Both rigid cutters are very nice cutters, but I prefer this deburring tool style, so I reach for this red one the most. But either way, it's a preferential thing. But this type of deburring tool, same as the triangle version, it basically it'll go after you've cut your pipe. You'll stick it in here and you'll deburr your pipe. And this one here, same idea. You stick it in here and you spin it around right here like so, and you end up with a nice clean inside tube. When it comes to measuring and marking the tubing, I just have a basic measuring tape. Okay, it's inches, 16 feet long, nothing real special about that. The marker I use is a standard Sharpie marker. I make a mark on my pipe like so. Just make a little black mark. As you can see, it shows up very nice and easy. This can help you guide with your piping tubing cutter to guide where the wheel has to be set. After it's cut, you have to clean the pipe. So I have a 4-in-1 tool. Okay, this will clean the outside diameter of 3/4. This will clean the outside diameter of 1/2 inch. This will clean the inside of a 1/2 inch fitting, and this will clean the inside of a 3/4 fitting. This is extremely old and beat up, so I would never use this for a lot of work because it's really beat up. But as an example, it would go on the outside to clean your pipe, and then if you had a fitting, so here's like a 3/4 fitting, you would go inside here and clean the inside of the fitting to make it all ready for, you know, your soldering application. If you don't have a little 4-in-1 tool, you can use a standard fitting brush. Okay, fitting brush in this particular example, plastic handle, metal shaft with like a metal or wire pipe cleaner end. This is 3/4. It'll fit with inside your fitting, clean it, and get it all ready for soldering. Another option is sanding cloth. This one here is waterproof aluminum oxide, 120 grit. The blue backing here is cloth. The top is 120 grit sandpaper. And what you can do with this is you can take your tubing and even your fittings, wrap them around with the sandpaper, and you can actually twist it, right, to allow you to get clean fittings for the preparation of soldering. They make this in open mesh, closed mesh, black, waterproof, whatever. I just got this one. It works well for me. Other options to clean a lot of burrs on the outside of your tubing. If sometimes you can't get the two pieces fitting together, sometimes there may be a little burr left right here on the top of the pipe or the tubing. I take a simple file and I will go and just clean the outside, or even just clean the outside lip of this pipe to make sure there's no burrs and it's nice and prepared and cleaned. Other options as well, there's a little deburring tool. This cone end here will go inside the pipe, and as you turn it, it'll ream the inside. This end here, which is the outside portion, will go over the pipe and clean the outside. So this is the same thing as what I said about the file. It's just a nice little tool that's all in one. Okay, and this is about 20 bucks. Okay, but again, it's just basic, simple tool. Also, when it comes time to have your soldering going to happen, you're going to get some flux. Basic flux is going to be lead-free. I prefer water-soluble. It doesn't really matter the type of flux, as long as the package says lead-free and for potable water. That's really all you got to worry about, okay? This package here comes with a kit. It is 0.5 ounces or 14.2 grams. It's made by, in this case, Burns-O-Matic. Again, many companies make it. Be careful when touching this. It is it does have the little danger symbols here on the package, so just be careful. It can be an irritant for skin, so wear gloves and whatever. Don't get it on your skin if you can avoid it. Also, I have this larger version. This is a Lennox, lead-free, solder compatible. For potable water, it does say NSF certified. Water soluble means that when you are done soldering and you have to flush your system of excess flux, water running through the piping system can do it. You don't need water soluble. It doesn't matter. I just prefer it because for me, as a non-professional, it's easier to work with. But Lennox has been worked great for me, so I continue to use it. This in my hand is a 16 ounce or 454 gram capacity tub. After about a year and a lot of soldering, I've only used about 1/3 of this thing. Kind of hard to see, but there's still a lot left over. Flux doesn't really go bad, you know, but whenever it's been sitting around for a while, just stir it. And this in my hand is a little flux brush, so after you get your flux, You can apply it to your fittings and tubing, like so forth and whatever. You can use a popsicle stick, your finger, whatever, as long as you get the proper amount of flux on your fitting and your tubing. The type of solder, basically, I just made it real simple for myself. At the store, I found this little tube, this tub here, and right next to it was the lead-free solder. Okay. I basically asked the guy, I said, hey, are they compatible? He said yes. I went home, I practiced, it seemed to work. There are many types of lead-free solder. Just make sure it's for potable water, it says lead-free, and it says, things like maybe NSF or, certified for potable water, whatever. If you're unsure, ask maybe the manufacturer website, and if it is lead-free and whatever, make sure that you do some testing. Make sure you're familiar with your flux and your solder when you test to make sure you're getting the results you want. Okay. Basically, after you got all that done, you got to put some heat. You need some fire and some torches to make this go together. So here, what we have is a standard MAP gas canister with a MAP gas compatible torch head. Basically, this is a Burns-O-Matic canister with a Burns-O-Matic torch head. With a 5-foot extension hose. This is about $80. The canister is about maybe 10 to 15, depending on where you live. In my particular example here, this is the gas adjustment off and on. It adjusts the amount of gas through this black tube, which is 5 feet. Here's your igniter. Here's the lock. When you put the two together, you have a little bit of a flame. You can adjust it with this top knob right here, and you can adjust how much heat you're giving out. The more common looking one that most probably are familiar with is one like this. This will fit basically on top of a standard propane or MAP gas head. You have your igniter here, you've got your lock, you have your adjustment. In this case, this does not require a flint or any kind of igniter or matches or lighter because it's all self-contained within this black body. Both of these are going to be both for MAP gas and propane. So I like that because if I'm stuck and I have either one, I know that the heads can do both. Okay. If you have a standard blue or propane style head, you can't really use it for MAP gas unless the torch head specifically says so. So if you have a torch head made for propane and you may be trying to use it for a MAP gas application, it may not work because it burns too hot and could cause problems, or you could break your torch head. So I buy the ones that are compatible with both MAP gas and propane. Okay, but again, this here was about $40. It really depends where you live. All right, I like it. It's all high quality stuff, but again, there is better and there is worse. This is mid-grade stuff. This is by no means the best. It works for me. I'm happy with it. But again, if you have any new stuff or you're never familiar, have somebody show you, or if anything, practice. Okay. Whenever you're ready to set up for soldering, and now you're going to do your soldering, everything's all prepared and so forth. Make sure you're going to wear safety goggles. Okay, that's a must. Make sure you've got nothing around you that's going to burn. So all fire stuff is either, protected. And a protection, you can get one of these mats here. This is a fire blanket. This particular one is made by OT, which again is the same company here, which is OATEY. They make a bunch of plumbing supply stuff. So this one here is about $20. It's about 12 by 9. It has a bunch of grommets, so you can hang it anywhere that you can, support the thing. It's flame proof, not fireproof, so it's a great job of making sure things don't burn. But if it's too small, they make larger versions. If you can't find them at your local plumbing supply store, they do sell them online, Amazon.com or whoever else, but they do sell larger versions. If you can't get a hold of one of these, you can get some sheet metal, maybe some thick galvanized or something that's flame proof, like a piece of steel, something like that. But make sure you've got a bucket of water, fire extinguisher, something. If you're unsure, don't do soldering alone. Make sure someone's around, so if there's ever a problem, you got help, okay? That's important. And one thing I'd highly stress, no matter what you're doing, make sure you feel confident, make sure you have some practice. And like I said, future videos are going to come out how to use these, how to properly solder and so forth. This is an overview about what I use. It's not, again, by no means, this is not an exhaustive list. It's just an informational video. Hope you found it useful. Post questions, comments. I'd love to hear what you guys got to say. Thanks again, and thanks for watching.